Hello, everyone. This is Trisha Wolfrey from Your Empowered Self, and welcome to my podcast called How to Manage Stress. And today I'm in conversation with reflexologist Lisa Wand, and we're going to be talking about what reflexology is and how that can help you manage your stress levels. It's one of my favorite techniques, by the way, of self-help. Not self-help, actually self-care, and there is a difference. So I'm really looking forward to my conversation with Lisa. But before we go on to that really interesting subject, I'm going to ask Lisa what it is that stresses her out on a day-to-day basis. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Trisha. Hi.
How are you doing?
Right. What stresses me out on a day-to-day basis? It's one I think that affects a lot of people, and it's deadlines.
Yeah.
But I think mine is a learnt behaviour. My previous career, I was an organizer of very large events, corporate events, and there's hundreds of deadlines. From the moment that you start, it is just a string of deadlines. And all of those deadlines, they need to happen. You need to achieve them, and then you move on. So they're really heavily weighted about performance. And through the years, I loved doing events, got very, very used to them, and very, very successful with them. What I've noticed now, change of job, I was getting too stressed. Change of job, had a complete reset. I notice now that when a deadline comes along, my reactions are actually heightened. They are stronger than they would have been previously. And I've spent a lot of time sort of working on it and thinking about it. And I think it's just that my adrenals and my body is actually had enough. And so it has to work extra hard to actually deal with the situation that is arising that I'm worrying about. And so I work quite hard at trying to sort of suppress those symptoms. And it's getting easier and easier, but it's quite indicative, just what a build-up or long-term stress can actually do.
Yeah. It is such, you're right, it's a very common problem and not nice for people to go through, and yet most of us go through it.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. My old career, there's a lot of deadlines, a lot of pressure, under-resourced, of course, and there were repercussions to not achieving deadlines that affected other people.
Mm.
So I too am really good at meeting deadlines. And what I found, though, is that I can work really fast because I'm used to it. But sometimes, and the world is very fast as well. If you think you want a meal now, you ping your microwave and you've got it in a few minutes. Or you order something off a certain website and you get it the next day. So we're used to things happening quickly. And I I was laughing at myself. There's my northern accent coming out. I was laughing at myself yesterday because I was terribly frustrated that I'm getting some work done in the house, and I needed some samples, and somebody is doing it all for me, and the samples are taking weeks. And I was going, what is wrong? And I thought, well, that's probably the real world.
Yeah.
But I'm used to everything being now or tomorrow or something quick. And we've got this kind of fast, slow thing that we have to be patient here, but massively
Yeah.
on the ball there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with the pressure on us for so many things,
Yeah.
it was just an interesting observation, how we manage all of that. And I guess that's where we come to things like self-care. So I made the differentiation between self-help. Did I call it? What did I call it? Self-help and self-care.
Yeah.
By self-care, what I really meant, maybe it wasn't a great definition, but just making sure that you're having things done that really help you. So some of those you do yourself, some of those you go to someone like you that helps to manage those things. So you can just go,
Yeah. Absolutely.
compress a little bit.
Yeah.
Go crazy.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it is a common one. Never mind. So let us look at reflexology. how would you describe it to people that aren't familiar with it?
Okay, so it's a therapy. It's a holistic therapy. So it's basically looking at the person and talking to the person about what it is that's making them, what are they looking for reflexology for? You need to understand what they need help with. But reflexology is a therapy that uses energy. It uses a form of stimulation or soothing to try and help the body, that part of the body that's struggling, get back to working properly. On your feet and on your hands and on your face and actually on your ears as well, you've got a whole map of reflexes. And what that is that the reflexes are a location on the foot or the hand which corresponds to different parts of the body. And so by very gentle movements over the reflex, the aim is basically to help the corresponding bit of the body get back to working as it should do. It can be, everybody reacts differently. It can be extremely effective. What it can't do is it can't necessarily take away the cause. It can, what it does is it helps with the symptoms. Having said that, something like stress, it can't take away the cause if the cause is financial worries, but actually the symptoms, it helps with all the symptoms. Well, that's the aim, and everybody reacts differently. But you know, when it does work and it is effective, it's absolutely fabulous, pain-free route to, you know, helping you feel fabulous.
Yeah. So, so when you see somebody, you either see somebody for foot reflexology, that's the most common one, isn't it? And I've only recently, in the last few years, heard about hand reflexology, ear reflexology, even face reflexology, but those
Yeah.
are different disciplines. Is that the right way of looking at it?
No, not really. They're different windows to the body.
Okay.
And so, as you say, most people have awareness of foot reflexology
Yeah.
and feet. You know, the feet is quite an expanse of space. So
Yeah.
it's great. It's a really good route to be able to feel what's going on with the body.
Yeah.
But then you've also got facial reflexology, which again has a whole map of reflexes that corresponds with the full body. But because of the proximity to some of the various areas which are a lot of people having trouble with, so things like migraines, the proximity of where the reflexes are and where you're touching, it's the muscles and the nerves that are all around this area. It sort of has a double benefit. So you're getting to working on the reflex, getting to that part of the body. So for example, the adrenals here, or the shoulders up here in the eyebrows. But because, you know, if I'm pushing on here or stimulating this area, loads of people, you know, what do they do when they're worried or cross? They're frowning like mad, and the tension that's building up in this area, you know, you've got the double benefit of relaxing and soothing, and the movements are very gentle, and it feels wonderful.
Yeah.
So with the ears, a whole map of reflexes again. Some of the elements include something called ear pulling. It's really odd when you think about it, but actually pulling the ears like this, what it's doing is it's also giving the muscles behind the ear around the occiput that can be really tight and tense. It's beginning to teach them to relax and release the tension. So again, you might work on the ear for specific symptoms that you might not get as good a response to if you're working on something like the feet. So all sorts of opportunities.
So I've had it once on my face, and I definitely prefer it on my feet. And what amazes me is when you have it, the practitioner can say, "Are you having trouble? It looks like you're having trouble with your." Can't think of anything. Your stomach, is that true? How do you know? Well, it's the reflex in your foot, and it's, you know, and it's somewhere on your foot. You can tell that somebody's got a problem in a part of the body just by the difference
Yeah.
in the feel, and the difference is what specifically?
Well, there are a number of things that we're feeling for. Um, it may be that it's sort of, it's almost like a buzzing for particular reflexes, for things like the pituitary, the hypothalamus, 2 points in the brain, which are absolutely key to a lot of body processes. When you touch them and there's a bit of buzzing going on, it's just showing that there's a bit of imbalance. And so by holding it and trying to reduce all of that buzzing, you're affecting how that part of the body is working. It may be
Can I just
particular.
interrupt you a second?
Yeah.
Sorry. When you say buzzing, you don't literally mean a sound.
No, I'm sorry. No, it's sort of in my
I thought, oh, I have to start listening.
my fingers, I'll be able
Yeah,
to feel a sort of almost like a pulse going on, but it's coming from the foot into my hand.
right.
Sounds like a bit of magic, but it's wonderful when you feel it.
Yeah,
Other roots are the texture of the skin, and it sometimes it feels lumpy, particularly for areas like the reflexes for the neck. Lots of people hold tension in the neck. The reflexes are in the stem of the big toe. And when I'm very gently moving my thumb over it to feel, there's almost like physical lumps in that reflex, which is a bit like when the masseur gets hold of you and feels, oh, there's a knot in that muscle. That's what I'm feeling in the feet. And you're absolutely right about, during a consultation, I'll be asking us lots of questions about that person's health. And they may either forget to tell me something or in fact choose not to for whatever reason. And often during the treatment, I'll be saying, so tell me, I can feel that there's some sort of imbalance in your shoulder area. And there's, oh yeah, I had a rotator cuff injury and I had some surgery on it, or over the stomach. The stomach is such a delicate area. I can feel it sort of feels grainy or sandy, and it's just saying that there's something in that area, sort of almost flagging up, going, I need some help.
yeah.
Stomach's not happy. Again, sounds like magic, but it's not, and it is absolutely wonderful when people are so thoroughly surprised and happy that you found it and want to talk about it then.
It is so interesting. And the way that you said something reminded me that, with some people, you can say, is there a problem with? And then they're suddenly reminded that there's a problem that they ignore during the day. So people become almost blind to what's going on. We don't really listen to our bodies very well,
No.
do we? We power through.
Yeah, people get
And
very, very good at almost recognizing, particularly pain, it's sort of like the new normal,
yeah,
and lose track of just how much of an issue it is. I had a lovely client who texted me after the treatment, and he said, you said to me about you could feel tension in my neck and down one side of my vertebra. And he said, I suddenly realized when I was in the car to drive home, he said, when I went to look right, I didn't go like that like I used to. I actually turned my neck completely. He said,
yeah.
I didn't realize, you've released it. And that, I mean, it's just so lovely to hear.
And that's one session. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
that's just so interesting. So he was so used to just doing that, he didn't even question it anymore.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So I was going to say something deep and meaningful. Let me just think what it's going to be. Oh, yes. So you mentioned the adrenals, you mentioned shoulders, you mentioned neck. These are all places where people can carry their stress, either knowingly or unknowingly. What are the things that you look out for in and not in a consultation, in a treatment, when you're checking out their feet? What are the things that you're looking out for that you can start to balance using foot? Let's concentrate on just the one, otherwise it's complicated. On
Okay.
the foot reflexology, for example.
So if it's a treatment, someone's come and said, I'm stressed up to the eyeballs, I need some help. The conversation to start with is really important, because I need to understand how they are, what symptoms are they classifying as coming under stress, because it could be something completely different, we don't know. But also, if they know what the cause is, it would be good to share. If they don't, then that's absolutely fine. But it's really important to have that picture to start with, because every treatment that I do will be built, it's bespoke for that person, because no two people are the same. But if somebody's coming and saying, I'm stressed, and I'll ask them about things like sleep energy levels? How's your digestion? How's your hunger? Are you a hot or cold person? All the things that I know can be involved with a response to stress. And I'm then, as I'm working over the feet, going through a whole process. Well, it's not really a process. It's a very complex web. I'll start off by working on the reflex for the head, which is in the big toe. So working through it, to start with, I'm trying to relax the tension that a lot of people are holding around the scalp area and around under the occiput, and then around the eyes. So that's physically the head. I'm then feeling various reflexes in the toe for things like the hypothalamus and pituitary that I mentioned earlier. Now, they're like really big, important, they're not big, they're tiny, but they're really
But the
important.
impact is big, the influence is
They're
big.
switches.
Yeah.
They're switches for a whole load of processes that go on in your body. And if they're out of sync, then that's a sign. I'd then be working down the spine, the vertebra. And it's split into various areas. So you've got the cervical vertebra, the ones that are in your neck, and then you've got the thoracic vertebra. So from the bottom of your neck down to the where your back sort of dips in. People, they're holding stress in the neck. They may be hunched over a computer. So the thoracic vertebra, I'll be able to feel if there's any sort of congestion or tension in those areas. So the whole spine, that tells a huge story. And then going out, so feeling out over the trapezius, the massive muscle that goes across the top of your shoulders. The reflex is on the ball of your foot for that. So what am I feeling? Is it congested? Is it lumpy? Going out to the reflexes for the shoulders, which are on right under your little toe. Often, because the shoulders are really big joints and they've got big muscles around them, when you're stressed and you're tense, they go like this. So the tension in the shoulder, actually around the joint, you can feel it. I can feel it in the reflexes around the shoulder blades and then down the back. So it's sort of working down the body, down to the hips, just like with the shoulders. Massive joints, really big muscles, tensions, a bit like that. Again, what's going on, trying to release it. And in the glutes, so you can see it's sort of a recurring theme with the musculoskeletal side. So that's one area that I would want to check.
Can I just ask a stupid question? Is that allowed?
Cool.
The glutes. So
Yes.
you're looking for tension in the body. I actually work out a fair amount for somebody of my age. How do you know it's not just somebody being super fit, as I'm not super fit?
Well,
or it's tension?
yeah,
This
no,
is an
good
awful
question.
question.
Yeah, no, good question. So bizarrely, somebody who's extra fit, if they've worked out that morning and I'm seeing in the afternoon, there will be a little bit of tension, but I will have had that discussion. Otherwise, it tends to feel lovely and soft if someone is ultra fit. If they're tense, it's completely different.
Oh, interesting. And they could be both. They could be fit and tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a question. It's that question. It needs to be discussed so I know what I'm feeling.
So the pituitary and the hypothalamus, how specifically do they relate to stress? Because you said they've got such an important job in the body. Without getting too scientific for people, these are glands. In what way do they influence our levels of stress?
Okay, so they work with the adrenals, which the adrenals have got two parts: adrenal medulla and adrenal cortex, bit on the top, bit at the bottom. And those two areas on the adrenals are responsible for producing adrenaline and then cortisol. Those two hormones are hugely involved in stress. So short-term stress, got to get out of a situation, it's really dangerous, got to get out, got to run somewhere. The adrenaline is produced, and it's produced to take all of the oxygen and glucose to the muscles that need it to help you run and get away from the situation. So the hypothalamus pituitary are involved in telling the adrenals to do that. Long-term stress financial worries or something like that. It's actually it's the lower part of the adrenals that produce cortisol. So in the same way, it tells the adrenals to release cortisol at a slower pace, and then it just it has an effect over a longer time. And actually sorry, I'm veering off the question slightly, but that longer term stress is the one that tends to cause the problems.
Could be problems. So with the first one, you said, I've got to run away, that kind of fight or flight. That's a short-term stress, but sometimes people are in that state all the time.
Yeah.
So does then that then becomes the biggest problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're
It's
not
with stress, it's stress is a good thing in a way, and actually some of the symptoms are a bit like being excited. It's really, yeah. But it's how your body manages it if it's there for a long time. That's the crux of it. That is the bit that really matters, and that's why part of the reason why I do what I do, because people need to be able to manage some of those symptoms. They need to have those looked after. Otherwise, your body is just opening itself up to all sorts of other issues. And there's a big link between long-term stress and illnesses.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Cancers, heart issues, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So not wishing to, scare anybody, but it's crucial to actually try and manage how you're dealing with stress.
Yeah, not to take things for granted, because like you and I had corporate roles before, and you just think you can do anything.
Yeah.
So you power through everything, and then more's put on you, and you just power through that, and you think you're invincible, but you're not invincible. Are you invincible? Whatever the word is, you're not invincible, and so taking care before you have problems or before you notice there are problems, because often with illness they're incubating before you're aware of the symptoms, aren't they?
Yeah.
So don't wait until you've got symptoms. Take care of yourself now. And this is why this podcast is so important, because I've got, as I'm doing this, I must have about 50 different videos about different ways of managing stress, and reflexology is one of many, but it is so good. And getting a good practitioner who really knows their stuff. And the other thing is, I have been to a few, and some people are just rubbing your feet and you're thinking, oh, it's soon be over, I suppose. But if you get a really good practitioner, as you are, they really know their stuff and can really, really help.
Yeah.
So with the pituitary and the hypothalamus, those are where in the body? In the feet?
Oh, they are in the big toe.
Oh, that's
They're
right.
in the big toe. They're tiny, weeny little points. But with practice and experience, you can find them. And I tend to, it's a term that we use in reflexology, but I link them together with other things. So I'll be linking the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and the adrenals to get them talking to one another and slow it all down.
I did not know that.
I know. It's but the overall benefit of reflexology for people who are finding they've got all sorts of symptoms of stress is how relaxing it is.
Yeah.
About 90% of the people that come for a treatment are asleep within 5 minutes. To me, that speaks volumes, because then they're in a lovely state of relaxation. They're giving their body is getting a chance to actually go, right. And for me to then be able to make sure that they benefit the most out of the treatment, because the body's ready for it and it's open to it and it's listening, and I can feel things changing. It makes me sound like I'm a magician. It's not, but it's just, training and experience. You can feel that they're making a difference.
And it's not a new thing, is it? It's been
No.
around for how many? I think it's centuries, isn't it?
Centuries and centuries. There's even, there's hieroglyphics with, Egyptians with people tickling their feet. There's all sorts, but it's about the last 150 years. It's really being given the awareness that it deserves. And actually, if people practice differently, if you go over in the Eastern countries, they tend to practice slightly differently. They'll actually use tools to get into the reflex.
That
I
sounds awful.
Yeah, personally, I don't
Tools of
feel you need to
torture.
push to get to it, because it's sensitive. It's
Yeah.
sensitive. But it's wonderful. No two people practice the same. Anybody who goes and tries a reflexologist, if they're not having a nice experience, they're not enjoying it or not getting much out of it, try somebody else.
Yeah.
Because everybody does it
Yeah.
slightly differently.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a treatment with Lisa, and I definitely think you're a really good practitioner, and you really know your stuff, which is why I invited you on
Thank you.
today. And the other thing I think I want people to know is you can do things to help yourself. So on this podcast, there's loads of self-help tools, but I think there's a lot to be said for having someone do something for you.
Yeah,
I think that kind of enhances the stress management. And there's oxytocin as well. Just thought of that. So oxytocin is the cuddle
yeah,
hormone, which is really good for feelings of well-being that you get through touch. And of course, it is a touch therapy. Some things are kind of not touch, and this one is. So, there's kind of so many benefits, aren't there, to
there
it?
are. There
Yeah.
are, and it's odd. A lot of people go, "Oh, I don't like having my feet touched." The way that I'm actually doing the treatment is quite purposeful. There's no tickling or anything, so they benefit from the touch, and they benefit from that nice experience. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. That is interesting because I'm ticklish, and I didn't get tickle. You didn't tickle
No,
me.
no. Good.
Okay, and is there a tip that you can give people that they can do for themselves if they're
Yeah.
stressed? Just one tip to help.
Okay. So points points on the hand for the adrenals. In the webbing between your thumb and first finger, it's in here. So just to put your thumb on it and circle really, really gently. Relax your hand. So none of it should be a battle. Really relax, nice and slowly. No one knows what you're doing. You can sit in a cafe and do this if you're waiting for a meeting and you're getting wound
People will be
up.
waving back.
There's that
Or you
one.
can
One
do it
which
on your
one
lap,
which is
couldn't you?
a little bit more obvious is actually the points on your face, just either side of the nostril in here. And again, just very slowly circling. Feels really, really nice. And actually, serotonin, another feel good hormone. Believe it or not, facial reflexology, stroking the side of your nose here can help release some of those happy, happy hormones.
Really? I never
Yeah.
knew that either. I thought I knew everything by now. Surely I must know everything. No, you never stop learning, do you?
No, no.
That is so helpful, Lisa. I hope everyone else has found this as enlightening as I have. I find it a fascinating subject. Um, I always ask my guests if there's a book that they've read that they've found useful, enlightening, that other people might also find beneficial. And you've got one in mind, haven't you? Uh, there you go. The Body
Okay.
Says No.
It's
Oh, Gabor
Mate.
Mate. Oh, I'm a fan.
Yeah, so he's a Canadian physician, and it's quite heavy reading, but it is absolutely delightful. He's basically flagging up the links between mind and body and stress
Yeah.
um, and illnesses. So it's the whole book is full of case studies, not in a sort of a medical way, but going through the
Relatable.
history, go through the history of individuals, talking about the symptoms, talking about how they are, and relating it to stress. And it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean,
Anybody
there's
just
lots of books around that, and I've only just become aware of. Well, I've only just started reading and watching him, and I signed up to one of his courses, and he spoke about the four characteristics associated with chronic illness. I'm reading from this, and I just thought, oh my God, this is so helpful. So I think I'll read that out if that's okay, because I think a lot of people who are suffering might identify with the following. So see how many of these you identify with. Compulsive concern for the emotional needs of others, a rigid and compulsive identification with duty, role, and responsibility rather than or as opposed to the needs of the self, so putting other people first all the time. Repression of healthy anger, I call politing it away. everything's fine. No, nothing bothers me, that kind of thing. And believe that you are responsible for how other people feel, coupled with the belief that you must never disappoint anyone. And these are characteristics that are commonly found in people who've got chronic illnesses, and that's illnesses that don't go away. I think I've got it here. Yeah, last at least a year or more and require ongoing medical attention. So I started using this with my clients, and where they have chronic illness, I'd say, how many of these relate to you? All of them. So this means we've got to really be careful and set boundaries and take care of ourselves, doesn't it? Yeah, so good recommend with the book. I've got one of his teed up. I can't remember what it is now. Can't remember. Damn it. Got so many
No,
books
always
teed
good
up.
read. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is. Anyway, thank you so much, Lisa. You've been terrific. Thank
No,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
I hope everybody's enjoyed this as much as I have. If you have, please like and comment. Tell us what you think. Have you got any particular tips for stress that you'd like to share with others? And do share this with others as well. You never know when it might land at just the right time for somebody. And maybe you want to save it too, because sometimes these things are good to come back to in times of need. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and I wish you a very good weekend. It's a Friday here right now. Take care. Bye.